You're listening to a BGE podcast.
Friends and family gather round and fire up the barbecue. Let the smoke waft and float, that's what we're gonna do. You can't deny there's nothing like friends and family and food.
I hope everyone's having a great week, having a great weekend, fired up those grills and them smokers and pulled off some amazing food, fed a lot of folks, friends and family, and enjoyed yourselves. We're talking about the best fish for the grill.
Worry what you gotta do, 'cause if you're looking, you ain't cooking. Fire up the barbecue. Fire up the barbecue.
Welcome back to another episode of the Blind Grilling Experience. My name is Chris Peltz. I am the most interesting griller in the world. And we are answering some questions that we received about the best fish to throw on the smoker or the grill. And I'm going to share a recipe with you as well, especially for those who maybe like salmon or tuna. And I'm not talking some canned stuff that you pop open a can. We're talking about things that are coming off the grill or off the smoker. But there was a couple of, questions I guess I had. The question that came in was basically rather vague in the respect of, what's the best fish to put on the grill? And there's probably three categories that we could put this into. One would be going out and catching it yourself. Of course, that's always the best option in any of this, because even if you get to go out and catch some yellowfin tuna, wow, it's an amazing trip. I recommend it. But going up to the northwest and catching salmon, if you could do that, that's great. But a lot of folks are probably going to be catching catfish, crappie, walleye, that sort of thing. Maybe some brim fish, and it's pretty easy to fry, but a lot of folks want to throw it on the grill. And so we're going to talk about things that you would just probably catch on your own, at least here in the U.S. when it comes to crappie, walleye, catfish type of things. But then there's those and maybe trout. And then there are those that fall into the wood plank kind of grilling or smoking, which would be, I think, your trout and your salmon. While you can certainly do more on wood planks, those are probably the go-tos for a lot of folks. If they're going to do any wood plank fish, it's going to be salmon, like a cedar plank salmon. We'll talk about what other types of wood planks that I recommend. But salmon or trout are going to be kind of in that option. Then there's going to be your hot and fast, grilling it up, searing both sides and pulling it off, and wanting it not to, you're wanting that medium rare, right? So then there's those types of steaks. Now, again, we are talking fish, right? So you got your tuna steaks, you've got your halibut, and there's some other, even shark, as far as that goes. Not getting completely into the seafood thing, lobster, shrimp, and things. We'll see if we mention that, but definitely want to talk about and answer the question when it comes to fish. Because, grilling fish is a great option, no doubt about it. Most folks think about just simply frying it. And, if you're doing it inside and you've got some crappie that you've gone out and caught, or maybe you're pulling some out of the freezer, going through everything in your freezer, and you've got crappie, walleye, or catfish or something like that, and as hot as it is in the middle of summer, a lot of folks don't want to, fry foods in their kitchen because their house just gets so hot, right? And maybe they don't have a big fish fryer, that some folks have when they have big parties, have big fish fries, and they're doing it all outside. But so they want to throw it on a grill. They want to fire up, whether it's a flat top griddle, whether it's a Weber gas grill, or a Big Green Egg charcoal or Weber charcoal kettle or something like that. And these, they're going to do great. There's no doubt about it. Of course, there's always fish baskets, you can use to cook some of these things in. And for those who are blind or visually impaired, fish baskets can be great because they can help you keep track of the fish, right? You put them in the basket, and once you close it up, all you're doing is grabbing the basket and flipping the basket if that's what you want to do. We actually grilled up and smoked some crappie fillets and some walleye fillets not too long ago. And I think there's a couple of posts on our YouTube channel, a couple, back in the spring when we were going for white bass, and we still had some crappie that we had caught, as well as a walleye that my wife caught. And so there's some videos that we've done on that on our YouTube channel, Blind Grilling on YouTube. But generally what you're going to do is you're going to get that grill up to 350 to 400 degrees. And, you can definitely do it low and slow and more of a smoked. That crappie smoked is amazing, believe it or not. Just spray it with some duck fat spray, and hit it with some double garlic or double butter type seasoning. And oh man, it's some good stuff. I mean, you can pick your favorite seasoning. You can pick the Slap Your Mama's Cajun seasoning, and you will not be disappointed. It is so good and works great on fish. And so, just seasoning it up. The only thing that I recommend folks do if you don't have a fish basket, have some kind of grilling skillet. It doesn't have to be a cast iron skillet. Sometimes we've got some of these skillets that have holes throughout them, but they just don't allow things to fall through. And even though sometimes your fish fillets can be pretty substantial and not fall through the grate necessarily, sometimes if you're not careful, they can get pretty flaky and start falling apart, and then they'll fall through the grate. Whereas if you have a basket of some type, or a wire skillet of some type, then you're able to cook the fish in the basket or in that little skillet type thing, and it works out really well. Of course, with a griddle, you don't have to worry about that if you're using a flat top griddle. But they don't take very long to cook. That's going to be a general theme when it comes to fish. It does not take long to cook at all. Especially if you're doing that 350 to 400 degrees, you're depending on how thick the fillets are. When it comes to, let's say, crappie, you're talking about a 5 to 7 minute cook. It really just doesn't take long at all. Much like if you were to fry it, you're going to fry it for 7 minutes or so, and that's pretty much how long it's going to take to grill as well. Now, if you're smoking it, the temp is a lot lower and slower. It's going to take a little bit longer, no doubt about it. But if you're throwing it on a grill, and you're comfortable, if you're comfortable using a spatula and flipping it, give it a good 4 minutes before you touch it. And that allows that meat not only to, it'll start to stick to those grates, but then as it starts to get done, kind of like bacon, it almost releases itself from those grates, and you'll be able to flip it. So grilling up fish is definitely an option. And that's for the things you're going to go out and probably catch in a backyard pond or a big lake or something out with friends. If that's something that you have the opportunity to do, that's going to be great. You're going to be able to do that. But next, I want to talk about another fast cook but it's going to be some things that you're going to buy at the grocery store. KickAshBasket.com for all your grilling accessory needs. Check out their basket for your charcoal airflow. Shake that ash and light that fire. Let that Kick Ash can catch all the ashes for easy cleanup. And check out their heat-resistant gloves while you are there. They are amazing. They make grilling not only easier, but fun. Check out KickAshBasket.com and tell them Blind Grillin' sent you.
Hey, it's John Grimes from the Ambiguous and Blind podcast. You are listening to the most interesting griller in the world, Chris Peltz, and the Blind Grilling Experience.
So let's get to the halibut or maybe the tuna steaks. Now, this is something that a lot of people, I think, like, that maybe they've seen them in stores. You know, every once in a while, if you go to a Sam's Club or Costco, you can buy these big old shrink-wrapped kind of things of round, 1.5-inch thick tuna steaks, almost like a filet mignon kind of steak feel to it. And there are some others that are like that. Halibut, if you buy a big filet, you're going to slice it the same way where you get those big round steaks out of the halibut. And the cooking, is pretty much going to be the same way. You're going to get, whether it's a grill or even cast iron inside, and you're going to get it screaming hot. Put some butter in there. You want to use a little bit, if you want to make a compound butter with some different herbs and things. But you're going to season up your steaks, your tuna steaks. And again, there's lots of ideas and preferences when it comes to what to season with. If you're at a complete loss, always go with, salt, pepper, garlic. You'll be safe there for sure. Maybe squeeze a little bit of lemon juice on there. You can always use some parsley or basil or oregano or something like that if you would like also. But certainly a little bit of lemon juice, lime juice, and then, salt, pepper, garlic, and you'll be good, no doubt. You're going to be frying it in butter if it's in a skillet. If you're on a flat top, put some butter down. And all you're going to do is, once you get that filet ready and once you get your grill nice and hot, and if you're on a charcoal grill, you'll do this direct. You're going to put those tuna steaks down for about 1.5 minutes. For some folks, you might go 2 minutes, at least for the first side. And then you're going to flip them and go another 1.5 minutes. You're going to pull them off. You're going to let them rest for just a few minutes. And that is it. That is truly all there is to grilling up some tuna steaks, right? At the most, 2 minutes aside, and they're amazing. They are absolutely amazing. I mean, the only thing better to me than the tuna steaks is, and literally my daughter and I went to Costa Rica. We went out fishing off the Pacific coast of Capos out of Marina Pez Bela, and we caught some just amazing, 40, 60-pound yellowfin tuna, and we took it into the marina, and there was a restaurant there that we took a fillet up there, and the chef made these tuna nachos with raw tuna. And it was one of the best things I've ever put in my mouth. Absolutely amazing. Now, if you're buying tuna at the store, unless you go somewhere that sells sushi grade, I don't recommend it, eating it raw. But if you're going to do a tuna steak, you literally are just going to sear it on each side, 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes tops on each side. And you're going to take it off, let it rest a little bit, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. The halibut's the same way. Just sear it off, let it rest a little bit. Maybe put a small little bit of butter on there, and enjoy. It's one of those things where, when everyone's trying to get everything done at the same time and make sure everything's coming off at the same time, listen, you can get all your sides and everything else taken care of, your breads and everything else taken care of, and while those are getting ready to come off, get your grill hot or your skillet hot. And as the sides are being prepared, for serving, you can then go and sear off your tuna or your halibut, your mahi, whatever that is, sear that off, at least the tuna and the halibut. And it's amazing. Absolutely it's one of my favorite fish to eat. And here's the cool thing, right? When it comes to those who love to smoke, those who love that little bit of smoke flavor, not the overpowering, something that's been burnt or, a lot, just overdone, but sometimes that subtle bit of charcoal or a certain wood smoke profile. You can grill up several tuna steaks, right? Let's say you're only going to eat, one or two, you having a date, right, with your spouse or somebody else coming over, but you've got 4 to 6 tuna steaks. Cook them all, right? Get them all cooked up because they don't take hardly any time at all. But here's the great thing, right? You guys eat the 2, and then you've got another, 2 to 4 left over, and put them in the fridge. What you're going to do later is with those tuna steaks, you're going to make a tuna salad, just like you would with a canned tuna. Only this time it's fresh, it's freshly, it's grilled tuna, and it just takes that to a whole new level. And listen, there are other levels you can take this to. I don't know if you guys have heard of truff, but truff mayo. They got a spicy mayo, truff spicy mayo. Oh, man. You talk about wanting to tame your tongue to keep it from killing you, hitting you in the roof of the mouth. That stuff is amazing. And just make it like you would make tuna salad. You can also smoke those eggs. We've talked about smoked eggs before. Firing up a smoker, getting it at 300 degrees. Maybe you're making some ribs and you want to go ahead and put some eggs around the outside of that, just right out of the fridge, out of the carton, raw eggs. You put them on the smoker at 300 degrees and let them go for about 35 minutes. Take them out and put them in some ice water and let them rest and set a little bit and peel them. And you've got some smoked eggs that you can put into that tuna salad, as well as that truff mayo, a little bit of mustard if you want, chop up some onion if you want, and just enjoy some amazing tuna salad. I mean, it's really good. And listen, you can do salmon the same way. If you cook salmon, and we'll talk about the cook of salmon in just a minute, but if you got leftover salmon, that's a great way to use up those leftovers, right? Make a salmon salad, so to speak. Instead of using the tuna fish, use the salmon and do the same thing with the truff mayo, some onions, a little bit of mustard, and, and some hard-boiled eggs, and enjoy, or however it is you like to make it. Go for it. That's a wonderful thing about this fish that you can do. I'm just thinking about it. We usually don't have any crappie or walleye left over, but I would be real curious to see how that did, making a little bit of a crappie salad or walleye salad. That might be very interesting as well. But definitely, I've done it with the tuna. I've done it with the salmon. It absolutely works. It's amazing. And not only do you get those nice tuna steaks for a really nice, enjoyable evening, right, and supper, pair it with a little bit of some grilled asparagus, or maybe slice a zucchini in half and put that on the grill, or whatever other sides you've got going on, with those tuna steaks. But then with the leftovers, make you a tuna salad. You will not regret it. Absolutely not. It's amazing. Well, let's move on then to the salmon for just a minute. And you can do trout the same way. Trout and salmon, they're definitely different flavors, a little bit of different texture in the meat. And I will say this. It's been a while. Bradley Smokers has been renovating their website, so it's been a while since I've looked at it. But Bradley Smokers actually has a trout recipe that's probably one of the best that I'm aware of, and it's a brine, which we're going to talk about brining in another episode. But there is a brine you can do with your trout, and Bradley Smokers has a great recipe for that. But I want to talk about planking, wood plank, for the grill, because not only is it a fairly popular method, a lot of folks think of first and foremost, cedar plank salmon, and that's about all they think of. We've talked extensively in times past about different types of woods. And when it comes to fish, alder is an amazing wood. Alder is a little bit more subtle, but pairs so amazingly well with fish, especially with salmon. I love alder for that. And you want to get a wood plank, and Big Green Egg sells alder planks. Sometimes you can find them at other in other stores with grilling accessories and grilling woods. Sometimes they'll have the planks. Usually they'll have the cedar, but look for other types of plank, because maple plank, we've used maple planks, especially with salmon. That turned out amazing. There's all kinds of things you can plank with, and again, I'm trying to stay focused. It's hard not to just go off on all the different types of foods that you can use wood planks with, but sticking with the fish, right? You got maple and alder. Both of those are awesome, and of course, cedar is probably one of the more popular when it comes to smoking fish. But salmon is one of those that you can do it low and slow or hot and fast. Either way, let's talk about hot and fast first and foremost. And the internal temp you're looking for in salmon is going to be about the same. You're looking for that 135 on your salmon when you pull it off and let it rest just a little bit. You can go up to 140, all right, of internal temperature. We're talking Fahrenheit, 140 degrees Fahrenheit max is what I would recommend on the salmon. If you can get a little less than that, that's my personal preference. Some folks like a little more, but that's up to you. You can cook and try it different ways and determine the internal temp that you like. But soak that wood plank for a few hours before you put it on the grill. And this does work in gas grills as well as charcoal grills. But let's do the hot and fast method, right? So we're talking 400 degrees, and you can you can cook salmon in the oven at 400 degrees as well. I know someone's going to ask, can you put wood planks in the oven? I wouldn't recommend it, but you do you. I wouldn't want the wood in my oven, especially if it was a gas oven. It might be fine, but I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't do it. I would use a skillet in that case. If I'm cooking in the oven at 400, I'd use a skillet. But if you're out on the grill, whether it's a gas grill or charcoal grill, and you can get it up to 400 degrees, and you've soaked that wood plank. Alder is my choice, but again, you choose what you want or what's available to you. After soaking it for at least a couple hours, get it out, get the salmon out, and put it on that wood plank. You know me, I spray it with duck fat spray all the way, baby. I love that stuff. So get some duck fat spray, and then find a seasoning that you like. If you're doing keto or you're staying away from sugars, again, your salt, pepper, garlic is going to be your way to go. And then, of course, maybe a little bit of lime and lemon juice on there as well. If you're not staying away from sugar, sprinkle some brown sugar on there. Brown sugar is going to be amazing. And there's all kinds of glazes, different things you can do as well. But you're going to put that on that wood plank, skin side down, and you never flip it. That's the one great thing about salmon is it doesn't need to be flipped. And when your grill is ready, you take it out and you put it on your grill and you let it go, and it's going to take about 20 minutes. Now, for those who are sighted or have some vision or have some sighted assistance, when you're looking at salmon, whether it's inside or out on the grill, it doesn't matter. For those who are sighted, when you check your salmon and along the edges, along the side, right, there's little white bubbles that'll start to pop out. And it's just the fat rendering down. But when those little white bubbles start to show up in that salmon, it's done, right? And so there are visual indicators. But for someone like me and so many other of our listeners, a probe is one of the best ways to go and bring that temp up between 135 and 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, I've gotten it to where with my grill, when I put it on at 400 degrees, I pull it out in 20 minutes and it's done. I don't even probe it. But I've done so many where at first I was probing it and bringing it to that temp, and it was extremely consistent. And so I've gotten now to where I don't probe it. I go 20 minutes at 400 degrees and it's done. And, pulling that off, get a nice pair of heat resistant gloves and you're able to grab that wood plank, put it on, something that won't melt, a platter that you can take it in and serve it. And it's so good, so good. It's one of our favorites, and we do salmon quite a bit actually. And I would highly stress to look for wild caught salmon, right? And there's usually some indicators, right? Anything that says Atlantic salmon is not wild caught; it's farm raised. And stay away from. I would highly recommend staying away from it. First of all, there's no salmon in the Atlantic, from what I understand. That they use that term Atlantic salmon to represent farm raised, but wild caught Pacific salmon. That's where it's at. That's what you're looking for. They haven't put antibiotics. They haven't fed it all kinds of things that you just don't know what they've been putting in the water for all of that fish, to eat. And they haven't done anything for the coloration of it. Wild caught salmon is going to be that red or pinkish color that you're used to and expect. And while Atlantic or farm raised salmon may appear to be that way, it's artificial, unfortunately. And so look for wild caught anytime you can when it comes to fish. And you won't be disappointed. You really won't. And trout is the same way. With trout, you can just throw it on there. The thing about trout is, with salmon fillets, it generally is deboned. Not always, but generally it's going to be deboned. You're not going to have to worry about finding those big old pin bones or anything and pulling those out. With trout, though, that especially if you've caught it and cleaned it, there is the bone aspect of it. But here's the cool thing: when you've cleaned that trout, and basically you've just gutted it, is all you've done. Some people like to take the head off. Some people don't. That again, personal preference whether you do that. But once you clean that trout, you get it gutted, and basically you've got the rest of the whole fish there, tail, the backbone and the sides. And you put it on a wood plank or a grill and you grill it up. Some folks will wrap it in foil and they'll stuff, different types of sprigs of, dill or parsley or different things, inside, a little bit of lemon wedge or something like that. You can do that. But if you don't wrap it in foil and you're just going to throw it on the grill or throw it on a plank, when it's done, that the skin will peel right off. It doesn't hurt you to eat it, first of all, but the skin just peels right off. And with that trout, you can put your fingers up and just kind of press on the inside, and that meat just slides right out, right, leaving the bones behind, and the meat just comes right out. And it may not be the most elegant eloquent way to, or elegant way, I guess, to eat. But oh man, I think that's the original finger licking good stuff right there. It no doubt it's amazing. So, but when it comes to trout, though, again, that Bradley Smokers recipe is awesome. That would be something that's definitely worth a try. So, folks, I appreciate everybody that not only tunes in, listens, and shares out the podcast, but the questions that come in are great. I do want to talk about vegetables. I think I mentioned that probably last week. I want to talk about vegetables and kebabs. There's been a lot of questions about that. And I've already thought, just doing this podcast about doing other things that are wood planked, and some other recipes that I want to share with you. But don't be afraid to cook more of the fish than you intend to eat, and plan on making some of the, like a tuna salad or salmon salad or something like that. I really think you will enjoy that. And, it'll keep that food from going to waste. It gets you in the kitchen or at the grill one night, maybe during a weekend, and then it sets you up to have lunch throughout the week or a quick supper when you get home late one night. And, you can thank me later. Absolutely. Oh man, it's awesome. As you know, folks, I love to eat and I love food, and love talking about it. Absolutely.
Friends and family gather round and
All right, folks, thanks again for tuning in and listening. Be sure and share out the podcast. I hope everyone does have a wonderful week. A lot of folks are traveling this summer. Conventions are happening. We've got some folks lined up for guests, and we're really excited about what we've got coming at you guys. And let me know what you think of the Wednesday story episodes as well. I'm enjoying doing them. I hope you guys are enjoying listening to them. Remember, if you're looking, you ain't cooking.
Fire is burning, the world keeps turning. Don't worry what you gotta do. 'Cause if you're looking, you ain't cooking. Fire up the barbecue. Fire up the barbecue.